A few years ago, when my daughter learned how to read, she started going around the house picking up things. Picked up one thing, made in China. Made in China. Made in China. Still made in China. She turned to me and asked me, Tata, is everything in the world made in China? It may appear so, but here today we're talking about things that are actually not made in China. As you know, Cleveland area has a strong history of manufacturing, global manufacturing, built on over 150 years. It started with industrialists such as Rockefeller, Firestone, Sieberling, and neighboring Carnegie that built this as a cradle of petroleum, chemical, automotive, rubber, as well as steel industry. Companies like Eaton Corporation, Sherwin-Williams, Goodyear Tire Rubber Company, Timken, and a few others call this area their global headquarters. But interestingly enough, our economy depends more on small manufacturing. 90% of Ohio's manufacturing comes from companies that employ less than 100 people. My name is Ivan Golubic, and I am a Vice President of Corporate Business Development at Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion panel on manufacturing. When I came to Goodyear, they told me a number of things, but one thing I remember vividly was there's two kinds of people in manufacturing. People that make stuff and people that sell stuff. Everybody else is just overhead. After 20 years in the industry, well, I realized I'm just the overhead. But people in front of me are actually people that make things, make world go around. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our manufacturing discussion panel, starting with Andrea.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Matic. I was born and raised here in Cleveland to Croatian immigrant parents from Bosna. My husband and I started Aerotech about 19 years ago, and our company is a CNC machine shop that manufactures parts for various industries, such as aerospace, medical, military, just to name a few. What our niche is, or what sets us apart, is our ability to manufacture very precise and intricate work, and we do this by using the latest technology with our equipment. My role as CFO and owner of Aerotech is to manage all of the finances along with the day-to-day operations of the business.
Hello, my name is Matt Sertic. I come from Silicon Valley in California. I started company Applied Ceramics that is producing components for semiconductor equipment made out of ceramics, quartz, silicon, sapphire, and other exotic materials. About 12 years ago, we started Copy Exact company in Sisak, Croatia, that is about the same size as the one in California. 8 years ago, we also started and ran successfully the Culinary Institute of Croatia, that is also in Sisak. This institute has produced by now several hundred very good chefs that you will see in Croatian restaurants today. About 5 years ago, we started also a entrepreneurial incubator, Sisak, called PISAK, for young people that are looking to start their own companies. So PISAK is supporting startup companies for young people to actually also grow their own dreams. And basically, I would say in a week, we will have opening of second phase of PISAK. It is actually the biggest private-public entrepreneurial incubator in Croatia. I am also a member of the board of Croatian Scholarship Fund from San Francisco. So Croatian Scholarship Fund is funding young students from Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina that's basically allowing them to go study in Zagreb, Split, Mostar. so that they can also join development of Croatia in a good way. So that's so much about me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Katic. I was born and raised here in Cleveland, Ohio. Graduated college in 1997 here from John Carroll University. My parents are from Sertic, Croatia, came to the United States in 1969. My current role is president of Enterprise Welding and Fabricating, which is a family-owned business. Enterprise Welding is a sheet metal fabricator that supplies complex steel fabrications to major OEMs. Some of our largest customers would include John Deere, Case New Holland, Phillips Medical, JLG Construction, and Kenworth and Peterbilt semi-trucks. Our core competencies would be laser cutting, CNC machining, CNC forming, robotic welding, powder coat painting, and we also provide engineering support to our customers.
Good morning. My name is Vida Novak. I'm a first-generation American. My father is from a small village called Nedelish near Čakovec in Međimurje. I'm the vice president of Air Technical Industries, a family business founded by my father, Pero Novak. And we manufacture broadline material handling equipment. This is hydraulic, scissor lift tables and positioning tables, mobile and portable cranes, different lifting products like that. My roles within the company include overall operations, primarily production, engineering, sales, and marketing. It's only everything, right? I wear many hats. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Skalicki. I'm a second-generation owner of Fluid Line Products here in Willoughby, Ohio. The company was founded by my father, Željko, almost 50 years ago. My primary focus through my 20 years here at the company has been in operations management, continuous improvement, and software development. And our company specializes in the design and manufacture of fluid power components. As I said, the company's been around for 50 years, and very proud to be here today.
Great, thank you. I assume not everybody here is in manufacturing, so I wanted to ask Mike, what does your typical week look like?
There really isn't a typical week, but I do spend the majority of my time in 5 key areas. Break it down. 10% of my time is spent with my management team. We'll be going over all of the corporate metrics, how the company's performing, and what adjustments we need to make out on the shop floor. I spend another part of my time with my product development team. This is going over all new programs, product launches, fixture designs, and the timing and how that's implementing within the organization. I also spend time in my finance department, and that would be looking at the metrics through the financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, looking at forecasts versus actual numbers, and also looking at profitability of the accounts that we work for. A fourth area would be with my marketing team and sales. We spend a lot of time analyzing the bids that are in the organization, working with our account managers on the work that we've landed, looking at the customer forecast to determine what the next 12 months will look like. And the final area, and I spend about 20-25% of my time here, would be on strategic planning, long-term and short-term. Short-term, always looking about 12 months out, and that's driven primarily from what the sales team is bringing in and what we need to do on the shop floor to deliver. And long-term is 3 to 5 years out. This is looking at market segmentation, shareholder expectations, market disruptors, technology, what's changing in our industry, from robotics to automation to artificial intelligence. How is that going to transform manufacturing in the next 5 years? That's what I spend most of my time on.
So I'd probably say a typical week in manufacturing from the outside looking in would be fairly typical. It's going to be putting out fires and herding cats and 99 other management cliches, primarily pushing the production departments to get product out the door. That's what I see. And we've discussed, how we can approach corporate strategy. That's a very important component, a higher level component, and unfortunately not enough time gets addressed to that. 1 or 2 hours a week sometimes on average we'll spend really addressing these important long-term issues. And that's one of the big challenges is overcoming the day-to-day challenges that have to be addressed to keep the operation going while at the same time keeping an eye to the horizon as well.
Manufacturing is not necessarily something that you just tomorrow morning start to think about, oh, I'm going to start producing something. Andrea, you had an interesting avenue into it. How did you come about and why did you start it?
We mainly made our decision because of my husband Misha's background in machining. I was in management in the insurance industry, and we just felt we had enough skill between the two of us to start our own business.
Yeah. And what was the hardest part about starting up?
There was a lot of hard, but one that really sticks out that I really didn't anticipate and I guess really couldn't plan for was just the amount of risk involved to start your own business and to be successful. We started with one CNC machine and now we have over 30. So with each period of growth, not only did we have to invest in equipment, but also space and people. The other hard part, which I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to, was just balancing home and work. My family has always been my priority, but I also wanted to give 100% to my business. This is definitely where I would go back and have to credit my Croatian parents for passing down their values and hard work ethics.
Great. As you talk about risks involved starting up the business, I know some of, with Vida and Mike, you are second generation businesses. What were some challenges that you faced as you were taking over the second generation and transforming the business and manufacturing into the new areas, starting with Vida?
Sure. So a couple of the challenges that I've noticed, one big one in terms of sales. I can only know that I've heard stories that you could put a quarter-page ad in a magazine and you'd get dozens of inquiries and just collect the orders. I've never seen that happen. So the sales approach as it moves from traditional publications to internet marketing and email marketing, and the entire process of sales, acquiring customers and acquiring new business has been a great challenge in my entire career in the business. And another one similarly is the workforce development. We have many great employees, been with the company 30, 40 years, have spent their entire career in the company. We have several of them still with us today. And then we have on the other side of it, we have those ones, and then we have some that have been with us a few years. And on the more recent side, there's a much greater deal of turnover, and it's very difficult to find and retain, the younger generation. Everybody is professional here in any business knows the problems. This younger generation don't want to work and have no commitment and dedication, and we can say all those things, but it's not entirely true. There's good people, but it's difficult, very difficult to find, train, and retain a good workforce. So those are probably two of the biggest challenges that I've observed.
Touching on what Vida here had to say is being part of the transition team at Enterprise from the first generation to second generation. One of the biggest challenges that companies take when they do that is the communication. I think that's the most critical thing when you're transitioning from one generation to the next. And what do I mean by that? When you look at the founders, they're the ones that are in the business every single day. They understand the business cycles, they understand how the business runs, and they really don't communicate out because they know it all. So when you get into the second generation, you have a lot of members of the family that have moved on, either moved away or in different professions, and maybe a few of the family is still left in the business. The key here would be to communicate out to all the shareholders how the company's doing, how it's performing, where the market is going, is there heavy investment in capital equipment, how is that going to affect them? Because every single one of them, even if you're not in the company or you are, they all have a vested interest in how the operations run. So one of the biggest challenges that I've seen is trying to communicate what the founders had to the next generation to keep the businesses going.
So I assume businesses, small businesses and large businesses, they deal with different challenges. John, can you talk about the difference between a smaller business versus a larger organization? what are the key challenges, difference, and how can a smaller business make itself successful?
I know for us, there's definitely advantages to being in a small business. Number one, the small business lends itself to more of a family type atmosphere. So we're fortunate as owners to be able to have personal relationships with our employees. One of the things my father taught me when I first started in this business was make sure you take time every day to greet each and every one of your employees and make sure that they understand that they're not just a piece of this puzzle in this corporation, but each person is a valued part of our success moving forward. In return, our employees, I believe, feel more cared for. I believe that they're more dedicated. That lowers our turnover rate, stabilizes our workforce, and helps improve our productivity and quality. And I'd like to mention as well, when I talk about family atmosphere, our company in its years of existence has been home to over 400 Croatian and Bosnian-born immigrants through our existence. So now everybody in this room can understand that comes with its challenges, right? To get a room full of 100 Croatian people at a company meeting is difficult. However, I will say that nobody works as hard as Croatian people, and it's definitely benefited us. The second thing I want to mention is there is a limit to the amount of bureaucracy in a small business. So as owners of the company, we understand all facets of the operation. We also have a direct line of communication between our customers and our employees. So it helps us react much more quickly to our customers' demands. So those are two definite advantages of being in a small business.
Talking about bureaucracy a little bit, Matt, you decided to build strong connections with Croatia in business world. And could you tell us what motivated you, except cultural background, to go into Croatia, and what were some of the business reasons that you went into investing in Croatia?
So starting 2000, year 2002, 2003, there was big pressure in Silicon Valley on relocating manufacturing operations to create so-called overseas operations. So everybody were also telling me, like, Matt, what are you waiting for? Why don't you go where other people are going? So where do they go? To Taiwan, to Korea, to China, Vietnam, and I also went to check how is there, and from very selfish reason, I decided to go to Croatia, because I thought, you know, if I have to keep working on transfer of technology, transfer of knowledge, transfer of business, I would rather spend next 10, 15, 20 years traveling every few months to Croatia, rather than China or Vietnam. Even, you know, Croatia is not a cheap country to start manufacturing business. Today, I'm very happy that I've done that, because there is one huge advantage that nobody recognizes. When you invest in Croatia, you have actually much better protection of intellectual property. In Croatia, simply nobody takes your business, goes across the street, and starts competition. That's what entrepreneurs have seen in China or Vietnam, not in Croatia. So Croatia has kind of hidden advantages that are not so much pronounced. One of them is this.
And now that Croatia is part of the EU, which you touched upon, intellectual property is probably top of mind on a lot of manufacturers. Do you feel that it's easier or harder to do business given some of the bureaucracy that come with the EU?
I think people were always talking about Croatian bureaucracy and what do you expect from state and things like that. And my feeling was that always that, you know, people expect too much from unknown. You know, Croatian bureaucracy is like every other bureaucracy, doing the best they can. So they would have hard time to understand you or me in like what you really want to achieve or so. So I learned that the best approach is just go there and do it. Once you do it, they come an opening ceremony, they go like, oh, it's so great, nobody would imagine that something like that can happen. Keep going, you know. So people are very supportive for, you know, entrepreneurs that actually come to Croatia and just do it.
Andrea, you bring a very unique experience into the manufacturing world as being the only lady at the panel and probably one of very few in the industry. What were your challenges that you faced as a female executive, and what is your advice to new females and women who would like to get involved in manufacturing?
While manufacturing is still somewhat male-dominated, women are making excellent strides in manufacturing. I meet more and more women engineers and women that are really knowledgeable and that really love their job and that are into innovation and everything that's great about manufacturing. I personally have never felt disrespected or out of place in our industry. My belief has always been if you are passionate and you work hard and you're genuine, you can be as successful as you want to be in any industry. I would have to say for myself, the single most important thing that I found I could do to help me was just to educate myself as much as possible.
Great. Thank you. I think in the interest of time, we'll skip Q&A from the audience, but feel free to ask us after the panel during the breaks any questions you may have. I think we're all going to be very happy to address them. And to close, I would like to start with John and ask him, how do you think you can help develop manufacturing in Croatia?
I'd love to see some type of support network maybe created between American companies and Croatian companies. Just maybe have like a partner or sister type company, not necessarily for business purposes, but more for collaborative type purposes. Maybe partner up with a Croatian company similar to ours, and maybe on a monthly or quarterly basis have discussions and talk about what issues we're facing. And I think American manufacturing is probably far ahead of Croatian manufacturing right now, and I believe I could probably help and help some of these the people in Croatia who are struggling with the same type of issues I did 10 years ago.
I think they'll be. Thank you so much.